The death of journalism in the age of censorship. Who remembers the good old-fashioned journalists? The ones that used to ask the hard questions, the ones that used to really dive deep, the ones that really used to confront the authority figures. Journalists like Bob Woodward
Yeah.
and Carl Bernstein
Yeah.
of the Washington Post, who exposed the Watergate scandal.
Yeah.
Barney Penrose, the tenacious journalist who helped shed light on the murder conspiracy linked to Jeremy Thorpe. Lawrence Barrett, whose book Gambling with History, Reagan in the White House, revealed what became known as Debategate, the theft of papers by Ronald Reagan from the Carter campaign during the 1980 presidential elections.
Yeah.
And environmental journalists like Geoffrey Lean of The Guardian, who exposed the dangers of Sizewell B power station.
Yeah.
Then we have Andrew Gilligan, who exposed the sexing up of the weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, Jack, there were no, it was weapons of mass deception, more bloody like it.
That's
Sorry.
right. Yeah.
Sorry, I feel very passionate about this.
Yeah, I was very passionate about it too at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the sex data was then used to justify the attack on Iraq, the war against Iraq.
Horrible,
And Dr. David Kelly, of course, who was suicided just a week after briefing Gilligan.
Yeah. And Julian Assange is still in jail and is unlikely to ever be released for telling the truth, just everything that we needed to know about. And why is he in jail? Let me think now. Oh, that'd be because he was telling the truth.
That's right. He came to wide international attention in 2010.
Yeah.
When WikiLeaks published a series of leaks about the US Army intelligence, leaked by the US Army intelligence and analyst Chelsea Manning. Yeah. Footage of a US airstrike in Baghdad, US military logs from Afghanistan and the Iraq wars, and US diplomatic cables.
Yeah.
Assange has won multiple awards for publishing and for journalism. Yeah. Yet he spent 7 years holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London before he was dragged out and jailed in 2019 for breaching bail conditions. He's been held in Belmarsh prison ever since, with murderers and rapists and all kinds of horrible people.
I know. And his only crime was to speak the truth. Jack is a truth speaker.
He's not
and he was a good journalist, wasn't he? Well, I mean, he still is a good journalist.
He's an Australian. He's not a British citizen. So why is he in a British jail? He's never broken any British laws.
No.
Simply because he exposed the American military's illegal activities. He's a thorn in the side of the establishment. That's all he's done wrong.
Yeah. Just tell the truth.
So is it any wonder that so many journalists these days choose to play it safe? Choose to toe the official line? Right, so welcome to another exciting episode of Love Not Fear. I'm Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, and I'm here with my gorgeous co-host Annie Day, who's written two scrumptious books.
Orgasmic Health and Your Guide to Feeling Fabulous Fast.
And my friend Barnabas England.
Come on, Barnabas, show us your book.
With the old version, the new one's about to come out, the second edition's about to come out. Along with a new book called The Inspirations of the Tao. It's a poem for every versus the Dowdy Ching.
Of the Dowdy Ching. I remember you saying.
Hopefully this
see
week.
you then.
Hopefully here this week.
We shall really, really look forward to that coming out, Barnabas.
Thank you.
And we need to sing your song. All you need is love. La 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 la.
All you need is love.
La 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 la. All
you need is love. Love is all you need.
So, is this also what happened during the recent fake medical emergency that we must not name?
Oh, I've called it COVID in my notes.
Where nearly every news outlet worldwide was clearly reading from the same safe and effective.
Oh, Jack, it was
provided to them by the World Health Organization.
Oh, bless them.
Yeah,
the World Health Organization has nothing to do with health, does it? Just
bless their little cotton
depopulation,
stocks.
baby.
No mainstream journalists had the guts to report what they were being told by countless independent doctors and scientists.
And this was globally, wasn't it, Jack? This wasn't just doctors in the UK. This was doctors who are the top of their field in immunology, pathology. All sorts of different doctors were speaking out, saying, quite rightly, it normally takes 15 years to do a longitudinal study and to find out if it's effective. We didn't do that because Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson and what was the other, AstraZeneca, were making too much money, and they gave the World Health Organization at the beginning of the scandemic gave the BBC 86 billion pounds. Do you honestly think they're going to be independent? Then they gave the Royal College of Nurses 36 million, Royal College of Surgeons 36 million, and then they gave what was the other one? Oh, then they gave the two biggest universities, or the most prestigious universities, 36 million. And you're telling me that they were telling the truth?
Professor Angus Dalgleish even managed to get in front of Michael Gove and Sage.
Yeah.
And yet they dismissed his report out of hand.
Yeah, they just vilify people and denigrate what they are and what they have been, so that nobody believes what they're saying. Like old man in the chair.
Yeah,
lovely, my lovely Vernon Coleman.
Vernon Coleman, yeah. Yeah. And the same thing's happening now with global warming.
Oh,
all the mainstream channels are treating it as settled science. It's nothing of the sort.
And it was even in the bloody supermarket the other night, Jack. I was ranting to myself internally, going, it's a scam. It's a scam. There is no global warming. There is no global warming. It's a fraud.
Yeah, they make it appear as if it is by never giving dissenting voices, no matter how well qualified, any attention.
Exactly.
Of course, the channels are being paid to push the narrative.
Oh, for sure.
And the journalists...
Follow the money. That'll give you the truth. Follow the money.
And the journalists who work for them have to go along with it, or they're going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Now, I've mentioned it before on this show, and I mention it again. When I was at university back in the, well, I don't know, I went to university when I was 30, so it would have been what, the 80s, early 80s.
Yeah.
I did an environmental science degree, and we just sat through a long, boring lecture on global warming, as they called climate change in those days.
Oh yes.
And we were all sitting around in the bar afterwards, having a few drinks as we did. Just a few of the mature students, just a handful of us. And the professor walked in, and he sat down with us at the table. And he said, look, I don't believe any of that crap, he said, but I have to teach it or I lose my job.
Exactly that.
Now, that's what woke me up.
Yeah.
Not the fact that he didn't believe it, but the fact that he had to pretend to believe it or to toe the party line or he'd lose his job.
Exactly, Jack.
That's straight out of.
I know.
Straight out of any totalitarian regime you want to name.
Yeah, 1984, Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. They were telling us. They were telling us, darling, weren't they?
Well, that was happening in 1982.
Oh, you peaked a little bit quicker than 1984. But that it's those experiences, Jack, that are memorable and life-changing and mind-changing as well, aren't they?
Yeah. And we also have the cancel culture.
Oh, still going on, Jack, isn't it?
Chinese artist Ai Weiwei has been vocal in his support of the Palestinian cause. He tweeted about the war in Gaza. And as a result, he had his exhibition at the Leisen Gallery in London cancelled.
Yeah.
One of the most influential contemporary art galleries in the world.
I know.
Ai Weiwei warned of what he called soft violence aimed at stifling voices.
Yeah.
Adding that Western societies becomes very, very timid. People now try to avoid any kind of questioning or debate. He said that he was on Twitter just answering questions as people used to do normally, naturally. It was a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
That's all he was doing, just answering questions. People in the West used to be able to say whatever we liked, didn't we? We could talk, we could make fun of anybody or anything, we could voice our opinions on any subject. But today people get censored or even cancelled.
Yeah. Or in extreme cases, like Rick Mail wrote a film called One by One, which beautifully described what was happening during the scamdemic. And he did a very short video afterwards. It was explaining all about the hoax of 9/11 and everything else. But he, a week after the film had actually been shown, he said, listen, guys, I can't tell you much, but I've just got to tell you, stop watching television.
Yeah.
I'm fit and healthy. I am not suicidal. I'm not depressed. If you don't hear from me again, you will know that I've been murdered for producing this film. And then carried on smoking his cigarette. And then a week later, apparently, he was running in the park and he had a massive heart attack, which people have said was this, I don't know, like a poison dart or whatever. But that's the extreme cancel culture. We can't have you telling the truth.
No, even in the West, the West is starting to clamp down now on freedom of expression. Artists, writers, journalists, intellectuals are being censored, just like in China.
Yeah.
AYY said that he grew up in such an environment of heavy political censorship, and that now today in the West, exactly the same is beginning to happen.
Yeah. We no longer live in a democracy. That was very obvious throughout the whole of the pandemic and the scamdemic. We're not allowed. Why were we doing our stand in the park meetings in parks all over the earth, Jack? Every single country was having 10 o'clock in the morning on Sundays with our yellow t-shirts. We were there because it was the only place that we could see each other and talk to each other about solutions and what we were feeling and what we were seeing. We shouldn't have had to do it in secret, Jack, but that was it, wasn't it?
I mean, now even university professors are getting fired for stating their opinions on certain subjects. Like my professor, Professor Ewan McPhee, he didn't get sacked because he went along with it.
I know.
And he felt really bad about going along with it, but he needed his job.
I know.
This is what Ai Weiwei said. He said it's like a cultural revolution, which is trying to destroy anybody who has a different attitude.
Yeah.
Not even a clear opinion, just an attitude.
Yeah.
Ai Weiwei said that he thinks this is such a pity, happening in the West so broadly, in universities and in the media.
Yeah.
Everywhere. You just can't tell the truth anymore.
Well, apart on this program, Jack Cox.
Well, we might end up in trouble on this program. You never know.
Well,
YouTube
the lovely Victor has got all my videos that I've done in the past, and he's put them on. It might be Rumble, the same as we're on, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's put copies of everything on Rumble so that if they should decide that happiness is a bad thing and optimism and love and all the beautiful things that I've shared, if they decided that that's not good enough because I'm not doing doom and gloom, he's done contingency plans. And I think that's why you said you'd put us on Rumble, wasn't it, darling?
It is why we're on Rumble, but at the same time, I don't want to lose this YouTube channel. So we need to be just a little bit careful what we say.
What can we not say, Jack? Because tell me now before I say it.
Well, most of the stuff you've already said.
Or you'll just edit the whole program of what I said.
Yeah. Anyway, Ai Weiwei was 1 year old when his father, a poet, was exiled as part of the Cultural Revolution by Mao supporters. And he went to a labor camp where he had to do agricultural work and clean toilets and all that kind of thing. He lived through that time in China. So he has a very special perspective on what's happening now in the West.
Exactly that, Jack. Exactly that.
Now he's comparing what his childhood experiences with what's happening in the West now.
Yep.
He made the point that he came from exile in the West, to the West, but he still cannot speak out.
No.
AYY thinks that that art is a special form of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
But where freedom of speech doesn't exist, we can't really call it art.
No.
He also said that artists who are too controversial can't earn any money. In a world where art sells for big money, artists are scared to offend the galleries, as he did.
Yeah.
It cost him a lot of money speaking out.
Yeah.
Artists are tempted by the big money to still their voices or reduce what they say about certain things.
Yeah.
This is shameful.
Jack, I was just going to say the same thing.
It's so bloody shameful.
It really is. This dystopian world isn't our beautiful earth and our beautiful world that we live on. This is just, I don't know, a crazy planet.
I always think artists should represent human emotions and they should defend humanity.
Exactly that, lovely.
In China, he was hospitalized with brain injury because of what happened to him in prison.
Yeah.
Because he spoke out. But he has no regrets because he was defending his values.
Exactly. If you're a true speaker and a light worker, you can't keep quiet about anything. It's just in every single cell of our bodies, screaming out that we need to tell the truth.
Yeah, he spoke out and he thinks that artists have the responsibility to do that.
Of
He
course.
didn't hold back from his criticism of leaders, such as of Chinese leaders.
Like Mao Zedong.
Xi Jinping, I think is the one he mentioned.
Oh, right.
And it got him into a lot of trouble.
Yep.
How long will it be before we in the West can be arrested and tortured for criticising Rishi Sunak or Klaus Schwab, Ursula von der Leyen, or Joe Biden? Already we can be persecuted for criticising their policies.
Yeah.
We have this crazy oxymoron known as a non-crime hate incident. What the fuck is that? The word hate is now used in place of the word criticism.
Yeah.
In order to silence people.
If I don't call you the right pronoun, it's a hate crime. Are you fucking joking? I'm sorry, but this is ludicrous. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, just skip over it. Get on with your life and ignore me. You don't need to be making this stand about I didn't use the right pronoun and it's now a hate crime. It's not hate.
It's not hate, no.
It's
not hate to say if you've got a dick, you're a bloke and you shouldn't be in women's sports.
And breasts are girls. Boys don't have breasts, or they shouldn't have breasts. And if they have, there is some.
I feel
not
right,
as big as mine, though, Jack. Look, they're not as big as mine. You can't count as a girl if you haven't got big breasts. I'm sorry.
So the word hate is I've done that bit. Right. It all started with the phrase political correctness a few decades ago.
Oh.
Now it's interesting this because the phrase first appeared in the 1930s when it was used to describe dogmatic adherence to ideology in totalitarian regimes such as Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia. It was picked up by people on the left of politics in the 70s and 80s. At first, they used it in a satirical way. It was ironic rather than anything, a serious political idea.
Yeah.
It was considered an in-joke among leftists, used to satirize those who were too rigid in their adherence to political orthodoxy. But
and
in the late
comedy, Jack, it was comedy. It made us laugh at the ridiculousness of the concept, of having to be PC about what we say. Come on.
But in the late 20th century, it became a serious form of censorship, promoted here in the UK by Tony Blair and his New Labour movement. Now we have this crazy term hate speech to refer to any speech that the ruling regime hates.
That's about the size of it, Jack, isn't it? That the government hates us to be telling the truth, so we'll call it hate crime.
Our voices matter.
Exactly that, Jack.
And journalists must have the right to say what they think.
Exactly.
And share information without fear of government backlash. We all have the right to agree or disagree with those in power and to express these opinions in the media. Exercising these rights without fear of interference is essential to living in an open, fair society, one in which people can access justice and enjoy their human rights.
Exactly that, Jack. Exactly that.
Governments around the world routinely imprison people, or worse, for speaking out. Even though almost every country's constitution refers to the value of free speech.
But only in name, Jack. But only in name.
Pays lip service to the value of free speech. Yeah, sure, governments have a duty to prohibit the incitement to violence.
Of course.
And nearly every country has such laws. But they do not have the right to silence peaceful dissent.
No.
Governments must not be permitted to pass laws criminalizing freedom of expression. In recent years, freedom of expression has come under threat by authoritarian regimes clamping down on free speech. And it pains me to admit that Britain is now governed by such a regime.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean the Tories. All the main parties are equally guilty.
Wings of the same bird.
Yeah.
Aren't they? There's nothing to choose anymore. We've talked about, you and I used to love the Green Party. It's not the Green Party anymore. It's nothing like, you know, what we signed up to. And the other parties, all they care about is money.
Yeah, I mean, Green Party
don't care about people at all.
The Green Party has been infiltrated by Marxists.
I think so as well, Jack. I really do.
How governments, how
Mana.
This is supposed to be a serious subject, young Annie Day.
I know, but we like to sneak a bit of laughter medicine in, don't we?
Yeah. So how governments handle the expression of critical voices is often a good indication of how they treat human rights generally. Yeah. Amnesty International, have you heard of them?
Yep.
Considers anyone put in prison solely for exercising their right to free speech peacefully to be a prisoner of conscience.
Yeah.
And calls for their immediate and unconditional release.
But again,
although they do tend to be very selective who they help.
I was going to say the same thing, Jack. I did used to love Amnesty International. I really did. And I'd write letters and petitions and give money and show up at all the events. And then I realised that they weren't focusing on everybody. They were very sensational in the people that they helped, shall we say. And that was heartbreaking, really heartbreaking.
They're very left-wing, aren't they? They're not interested in helping right-wing people.
Really? Not really lovely.
They claim to support people who speak out peacefully for themselves and for others, although in practice, they tend to be rather one-sided.
Yeah.
The central principle of free speech is that it must apply to everyone, not just the people we agree with.
Exactly.
This is one area where Amnesty International needs to improve.
Yeah. Because, Jack, do you know what? Even if, you know, people don't like what I'm saying, and maybe I don't like what they're saying, I will defend their right to say it, because it's heartbreaking to do otherwise. We can't live in a world where we all think the same, we look the same. That isn't what's good for us. So I, you know, anybody who doesn't agree with us still has the right to express themselves.
Yes,
We've got
exactly.
Speaker's Corner, haven't we? Where people can turn up and say whatever they wanted to say.
It has to be for people we agree with as well as people we disagree with.
Exactly, darling. Exactly.
My dad, that thing you were saying, my dad I was brought up with my dad telling me that.
Yeah.
Telling me every day, every week, every month, you know, regularly.
Yeah.
You know, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it.
Exactly that, darling.
I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's a quote from Voltaire. Maybe it isn't. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody can put me right on that. But it's whoever said it originally. It's very, very important principle.
Yeah. And your dad's spot on, darling. Your dad is spot on.
Oh, my dad was brilliant.
There you go, then.
My dad was better than your dad. No. Right. The right to freedom of expression is enshrined in Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which sets out in broad terms the human rights that each one of us has.
Yeah.
It was later protected legally by a raft of international and regional treaties. Yet the persecution continues. and seems to be intensifying.
Yeah, darling.
Freedom of expression underpins other human rights, such as the right of freedom of thought, of freedom of conscience, freedom of religion. It's also closely linked to freedom of association, the right to form and join clubs, societies, trade unions, or political parties with anyone you choose.
Exactly, darling. I thought, though it may reflect Voltaire's beliefs, writer Evelyn Beatrice Hall actually coined that phrase. Thank you, Barnabas.
Thank you, Barnabas. And the freedom of peaceful assembly, the right to take part in peaceful demonstrations or public meetings. However, these very freedoms come under regular attack by governments that want to stifle criticism.
Yeah. You know, all the peace marches that were happening all the way through the scandemic, not one mainstream media showed it. We took videos of all the wonderful healthcare professionals who were told that they either had the jab or they lost their job. One of the most poignant moments was watching them step up and say, I've been a doctor for 35 years and I'm handing my uniform in. I've been a nurse for 20 years. I'm handing my uniform in. I've been a radiographer. All these people laying down their uniforms, and not one single channel showed any of that, Jack.
No.
Makes me wonder why.
No, and they used to misrepresent the rallies if they reported them at all.
Oh yeah, they'd say that we were scrapping the whole time. Are you kidding?
They say we were scrapping. They say there were just a few thousand there when there were hundreds of thousands.
Exactly, I mean, that was ludicrous. And then we were all thugs and were beating people up. No, we weren't.
Well, of course, we talked about the misuse of the word hate, and we've talked about political correctness. We haven't yet talked about the misuse of the word far right.
Yeah.
Anybody who goes against the government is called far right, which is a totally meaningless expression.
I'm just on the right-hand side. I'm not really on the left-hand side at all, Jack.
Well, you know, I've said this before, that I think that whole model of politics, the left, right, centre model of politics, is not fit for purpose.
Crazy. It is.
It's not fit for purpose.
No, it's not.
We need a new model that puts fascism and communism together on the left, two different forms of totalitarianism together on the left, and anarchy or pure freedom, anarchy in the correct use of the word, not in the not in the biased use of the word, on the right.
Yeah.
Putting communism and fascism as opposites is just ridiculous. You can't get a cigarette paper between them.
Just ludicrous, Jack, isn't it? Ludicrous.
Yeah. So if indeed we're going to have a model of politics that puts anarchy on the right, then I'm proud to be far right.
And me, I don't mind being an anarchist. I think I've probably got quite the essence of an anarchist inside.
Oh, I think you do, Annie. I think you make a really good anarchist. But this is all part of the propaganda, isn't it? You know, you think anarchist. You learn from the media what an anarchist is. You'll believe that an anarchist is holding a Molotov cocktail and he's blowing the place up. That's not what an anarchist is. An anarchist is in a self-sufficient community somewhere.
Exactly.
You know, growing food peacefully.
Or, you know, we went round all this area to tell people about the proposal for yet another 5G monopole. If that's anarchy, okay, I'll put my hands up, it's anarchy. Yeah. People were supposed to be informed if they're putting a monopole up, they don't. They put it up and then go, oops. So, you know, even putting leaflets through people's doors and talking to them about what 5G is doing to us, that would be considered anarchistic, wouldn't it? Is that a word? I think I might have just made a word.
Anarchistic, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
Well, if not, I've just made it up. But putting leaflets through, and you know what was lovely, Jack, while we were doing it, lots of people came out and said, why are you putting this through my door? And I said, because I think you should know about this. I think you should know the harm that this is doing. And it was very well researched with, you know, the harm it does to children, the harm it does long term. And people didn't know about it, and they were really grateful that we'd let them know so they could oppose the proposal, basically.
Yeah. I mean, we're all told about what happened in Egypt in 2018. The government arrested at least 113 people, citing a host of absurd reasons, including satire, tweeting, supporting football clubs, denouncing sexual harassment, editing movies, and giving interviews.
Oh,
those arrested were accused.
What terrible people.
Those arrested were accused of membership of terrorist groups and spreading false information.
Yeah.
I mean, false information? Who has the right to determine what's true and what's false?
Exactly that.
Certainly not
a matter of opinion and a matter of what our heart says.
Yeah, certainly not an organisation with a vested interest, such as a government. The only solution is to let everybody speak freely and let the people decide for themselves what they choose to believe.
Exactly.
People aren't stupid. They don't need to be told what to believe and what not to believe. And they don't need to be told who to love and who to hate. I mean, the government, the media, the biased media loves telling people who they're supposed to who they're supposed to hate this week, you know.
Yeah.
So many good people, good journalists have been slandered in the mainstream media. Independent.
If they tell the truth, then they get someone to say, oh, this bloke's been sexually abusing me, and then he gets shut down and blah, 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 blah. It was never about that. It was to shut him up.
Yeah, all the time-honoured thing about he's far right. Of course, it's not bloody far right. It's just standing up for freedom.
Not far right.
And the United Kingdom, heard of the United Kingdom? Is about to become another such
misnomer as well, isn't it? United Kingdom. Are you kidding me?
Right, the disunited kingdom. Kingdom is about to become another such repressive regime with its online safety bill. The parameters of which are so broad and imprecise that anyone can be arrested for writing virtually anything. A free press reporting on the issues that interest us and shape our lives is the key building block of any rights-respecting society. Right, now that's all I've got for us today.
I'm in the middle of a discussion with a very dear and old friend of mine from 50 years ago, who's been in my life in and out. I'm actually going to go and meet him in the next week for the first time in about 25, 30 years. So we're toing and froing about this very subject right now. I think he was most upset that I'd been to the stand in the park, and he's been to the Light website, and he's characterized the people at the stand in the park as not being the right kind of people to be around. So I thought, well, I didn't, you know, I actually went to see Catherine and Karen, and it just happened to be there. So it wasn't like I'd planned on joining some kind of counter offensive, whatever it is. But anyway, so I'm right in the middle of this discussion. This is extremely interesting and informative, as usual. But I have to say my part, I mean, you can only speak out of your own experience and your own heart. I know when I had my blood clots on my lungs, I went part of the aftercare to see the specialist. And I asked this specialist guy directly 3 times, do you think that my blood clots might have anything to do with taking the vaccine? Because I had to take it for work.
Yeah.
And 3 times he changed the subject. And I laboured the point. The 3rd time I went extremely slowly with my question. So that in itself is my own personal experience. It's nothing that I've read in a book or on a light newspaper or anything else. That actually happened to me. And I know that there are more deaths in people under the age of 60 from people who have taken the vaccine than those who have died from the dreaded disease, that we're all mainly over 80 anyway. I mean, that doesn't excuse the fact that we need to do something about caring for people who are extremely old. We can't, well, you're too old now, so you can die.
They'll just give you midazolam and kill you off, eh?
Yeah. So anyway, my personal experience is that, but my main drum that I beat is love. Yeah. So when people are saying negative things on either side, this is why I'm in the way, the group The Way, because originally Karen wrote a post saying that free speech, that and also that if you want to take the vaccine, then that's okay, it's your body, you can do that. And no one should call you out for doing that. And vice versa, if you don't want to take the vaccine, nobody should be making you out to be an idiot or whatever else. And up to that point in my feed on Facebook, I've been getting people, I think I've got a balanced set of friends, because I've got people who were saying, don't take the vaccine, and others who were saying, if you don't take if you're not willing to take the vaccine, you are a health risk to everybody else. And they were shouting so loud. And all I want to have is a message of love. I know Jack's book is Love Not Fear. My book's just love. I don't want to even consider that side of the equation. And maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I should get my act together and know what I'm talking about. But I think at the end of the day, love reigns supreme. And
exactly that.
Whatever your views are about anything. Also, at the same time, on my profile, were people saying that Trump is the savior of the world. And I also had people on my Facebook feed saying he's the worst thing since sliced bread. No, that's the best thing since sliced bread, isn't it? Trump's a really evil monster. And they were both coming in at me. And I just want to hear this being spoken about all the time. But thank you for the informative nature of what you're saying here, because it gives me something to reflect on before my meeting next Tuesday.
Perfect.
So thank you very much.
I mean, your book is absolutely beautiful, Barnabas, and yeah, we manifest what we focus on the most, and if we can just focus on love. It's interesting that you mentioned Trump, because I was talking earlier about how the media tell you who to hate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's a perfect example that the media has been telling everyone for years now to hate Trump. Not that
he's definitely anti-establishment. We know that. But to me, what matters most is what's in a person's heart.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in my view, and I might have a wrong view of him, he has come out with some of the most despicable sayings. I mean, recently, he's talking about allowing Putin to bomb people in the NATO alliance that don't pay up. Now, that is no way to treat your allies. No. It's no way to treat your own soldiers.
And we don't know that he actually said it, because there's a lot of CGI that Jack will tell you about.
Well, yeah,
and
I'm sure that there is.
You know, I'm just saying that we can't even trust what somebody's shown to be saying, because they manipulate so much to edit things, take things out, change the words. The software that can change anything that I've just said into something really offensive and obscene. And again, this is linked into what Jack's saying, that this shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I can't imagine Trump saying anything like that. I'm not saying he didn't.
Hey,
I'm not saying Trump didn't say that. He may have done, but it's not the sort of thing I'd ever imagine him saying.
Rick Mail. I'm going to do a Rick Mail now. If you ever hear me say anything publicly, I mean, I'm speaking publicly now, but that isn't based in love, then it was it was AI. It weren't me.
Yeah. Right, Annie,
what shall I make you laugh?
Go on, let's have a laugh. Yeah.
So the 10 largest news channels are CNN, Fox News, BBC, Sky News, MSNBC, Al Jazeera, Euronews, Al Arabiya, Geo News, and NDTV India. The largest newspaper groups are said to be Wall Street Journal, New York Times, USA Today, Washington Post, and the New York Times. As Jack's already referred to it, during the scamdemic, everybody was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody, the exact same words. How many deaths there were every single day. Yeah. So I'm not minimising what we've said already, but I thought that this man, well, he just makes us laugh. So according to Mark Poles, who has an MA in philosophy, politics and economics at Magdalen College, Oxford, graduated in 1993, he states that there are no independent, factual, truthful newspaper in the UK. He says the Independent says everything's shit and it's all your own fault. The Daily Mail, everything's shit and it's all their fault. The Daily Telegraph, everything's shit, not like it was in my day. The Times, everything's shit, but you'll have to pay more money to see why. Daily Express, everything's shit and has been since Diana died. The Sun, everything is fab, says page 3 stunner Tracy. The Mirror, everything's shit and it's all the fault of the Tories or the blah 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 blah. The Guardian, everything's shit and it's all the fault of the Jews and the bankers, but especially the Jewish bankers. The Morning Star, everything's shit, not like it was in the Soviet socialist utopia. The Daily Record, everything's shit and it's all the fault of the English bastards. The Daily Star, Simon Cowell's a shit. The New European, everything's shit and it's all the fault of democracy. The Financial Times, everything's shit, so thank God that you're really rich.
That's brilliant.
So
brilliant.
I've talked quite a bit about why we have fake news, and I've put things like CGI in and misinformation and disinformation. So the scamdemic was the biggest psyop ever perpetrated upon mankind, was used deliberately during the scamdemic, started in March 2020. As if people are fearful, they are far more compliant. Once people accepted social distancing to stop us from connecting our hearts, face covering stopping us from breathing in essential oxygen and breathing out CO2, avoiding contact with elderly relatives, which was heartbreaking.
Oh, that was just wicked.
Oh, Jack,
that was
honestly,
so wicked.
It was just so heartbreaking. It really was.
I mean, it's designed to be dehumanizing.
Lockdowns, which closed all small businesses, increased depression and suicides, especially in young men, and huge increases in domestic abuse. So I've known for a long time that the divine masculine needs to be, his core energy is protector and provider. The scamdemic took that away from men, and they couldn't support themselves, they couldn't support their loved ones, and also they couldn't provide for them anymore. And it was just, the fear porn was on 24/7 on every channel, every newspaper, supermarket, shops, advertising boards, motorway signage, to force people to live in fear and to comply with everything the dark cabal and WEF had in mind to depopulate us. The jabs, how many times were people told they were safe and effective, that they would stop transmission, having no longitudinal studies on these mRNA jabs? The ingredients in these were all designed to kill, maim, and to stop conception and live births. And I've got loads of information. This is my own opinion, but I have very well researched it. Folks were forced to take it by their employers or lose their jobs. The London peace rallies, laying down of uniforms, as I've already said earlier, was beyond poignant. People unable to visit their loved ones when they passed over, folks unable to travel without the jabs. What was of more concern to me at the time is that it usually takes 15 years approximately to do a true longitudinal study on any new medicines, not 6 months. The fact that if there were any adverse reactions or deaths, the governments would prevent litigation of the company. Sadly, anyone who was critically thinking truth researcher was vilified, lied about, so that people would not believe what they were saying. For instance, Dr. Vernon Coleman has been one of my heroes since I first read his book, How to Stop Your Doctor Killing You, in 2003 when I worked in a hospice. And then remember, watch less TV or no TV. And remember, love always overcomes hatred. Light always overcomes darkness. And the truth always comes out in the end.
That's beautiful, Annie. It's really beautiful.
Affirm repeatedly daily, I am the light. I am the starlight on the darkest night. I am the light of the never setting sun. I am the light that comes from the one.
Thank you, Annie. Absolutely gorgeous.
My pleasure. And I want to show you Vernon Coleman's book because I was really shocked when I first went to work at the hospice that people who are at end of life care taking chemotherapy, which has mustard gas in. They're not giving organic food. They're not giving good quality water. And I found, or this book found me. This book found me at that time and was very helpful in me helping people to recover. So
whatever they do, whatever happens to me, don't let me go into hospital. Because I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all.
Somebody said to me the other day, why are you never ill? Why are you never ill? Why are you not infirm? Why are you so fit and healthy? And I said, well, I drink good quality water. I eat mostly organic food. And I haven't seen my GP since 1998.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I do really think that there is a correlation between all of that, Jack, for sure. So thank you for giving us this opportunity tonight, Jack.
Well, big thank you to you, Annie Dave, for being my wonderful co-host. The show wouldn't be the same without you. And it wasn't the same before you.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
And thank you, Barnabas, for coming along and being our #1 fan.
Oh, you so are
#1 supporter.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all again next week. Now, if there's anything at all you want us to talk about in particular, do let us know. And if you're watching this on YouTube or on Rumble, please do like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you all again next week.
Namaste.